All right, welcome, boys and girls. This is episode
17.
the Chaingang podcast. We found Justin under Ryan's belly button limp this week, so we're glad he can make it back. We got Parker coming back on, and this week we got a special guest from the Legendary Show. Malachi was able to join us this week. He's been a huge supporter of the podcast. So Malachi, we're glad to have you on.
It's glad for you guys to have me on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right. So first up, we're going to do Between the Chains, which is basically headlines of the week. So we're just going to run through quick. So first up, Rashaad Pennys ran for 190 yards, and in the last 5 games, he's ran for over 135 yards at least 4 times. And he's had 6 touchdowns over this span. So, guys, he could possibly take over for Chris Carson next year.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Do you know the contract situation with that though?
I do not, but
I mean, I could see a trade happening where the Seahawks try to get him out to a team that needs a running back.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
Chris Carson out?
Say that again.
Yeah,
Chris Carson out or Rashaad Penny out?
I'll let you know.
Chris Carson's out right now for injury.
In the trade.
I would think they would. I think they would trade Chris Carson just because he's older and he's more injury prone.
Yeah, I mean, I like Chris Carson. He is injury prone, but I also like teams that have 2-back systems. I mean, you guys know I'm never huge on putting all your chips in one back. And so if they could keep both of them, and then, I don't know how long AP is going to stick around. He'll probably be out after the season, but even a third back that you can rotate in, I think that would be very effective for him.
Yeah, I totally agree there.
So Rashaad's Penny contract runs up at the end of next season. Yeah, it says 2022 he's a UFA. So next season, or actually no, it'd be next season. So next season he's going to be a UFA, and Chris Carson runs up at the end of next season at 2023, or I guess 2 years. So both of them have decent contracts on their names right now.
Gotcha. I feel like if I think about it as the situation that the Seahawks in, they had an up and down season this year. With Russell Wilson getting hurt. Chris Carson, I love Chris Carson to death, man. I love me some Chris Carson. But I feel like if they trade Chris Carson, I feel like they'll probably trade him for draft picks. I feel like the Seahawks probably clear the house.
Yeah, I don't think they would honestly get as much value, from Chris Carson to make the trade even worth it. Yeah, so honestly, I don't see them trading Chris Carson. I don't think it's worth it. I think you just keep a 2-back system and honestly probably just split carries.
Yeah, I agree. I think they get more value for him keeping him on the team, even if he is injury prone. And he'd probably be less injury prone not being the feature back if Rashaad Penny keeps up on the track he's been. Again, like Dylan said, I just don't think they're going to get much in the market.
Right.
All right, and as we know, towards the end of every season, there's always a head coaching carousel, and a bunch of coaches get fired. This week, we had Vic Fangio fired from the Broncos, Joe Judge fired from the Giants, Mike Zimmer getting fired from the Vikings, Matt Nagy getting fired from the Bears, and the biggest surprise of them all, even after winning 8 games in a row, Brian Flores of the Dolphins did get fired as well. I did hear a lot of different stories from these. I heard that Brian Flores got fired because of upper management issues. But even then, I would have fired the GM in that case because, I mean, you take your team from 1-7 to almost making the playoffs and being a really good team and beating the Patriots 2-0 or twice rather. I think it's a fantastic organization and team he had built up there. So that firing was definitely the most surprising. What do you guys think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, Matt Nagy and Joe Judge, we've been seeing coming for a long time. But Brian Flores, I actually liked.
I loved him as well.
The Dolphins have been so terrible for so long. And now you have a coach come around who actually wants to go through the process, rebuild. He gets some real talent on that team. He takes them, not a spectacular season or anything, but he takes them to a decent season, a solid start with your new, second-year quarterback. And you want to build off that. But I think the Dolphins are doing Dolphin things, and they're going to fall back into a terrible coaching carousel.
And that's such a shame, too, because of how passionate this Dolphins fan base is. They have gotten no rewards for it whatsoever, other than occasionally Nate Seasons and maybe making the playoffs. They have just – I feel so bad for Dolphins fans because it's just so sad. But
I will say I think this is potentially a great thing for Brian Flores moving out of Miami.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think he could land in a better situation with maybe not better GM and management, but I think he has a chance to go – he could go to the Jags and work with a real talented young quarterback.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars is a very hot place for him to go.
I also think it's really good in Chicago. Sorry, I mean to cut you off.
Oh, with Justin Fields? Oh, that'd be great.
Honestly, this is how I feel about the Brian Flores. When you bring in this Tua second season, correct? This Tua second season,
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So when you bring in Tua and you bring in a weapon like Jalen Waddle for him, and Brian Flores, he's changed that whole environment around. When you have the New England Patriots used to beat up on the Dolphins every year, and you have Brian Flores coming in and sweep the Patriots, that's a big step stool. And like he said, start off as 1-7 and turn the whole season around. That's a major milestone because some coaches can't do that. Some coaches like Urban Meyer, we thought he was going to come in and be good for the Jags. And what he do? He jagged out the Jaguar Stadium. He jagged out the stadium. That's exactly what he did. So when you have Brian Flores, and he was so good for the Miami Dolphins because he was defensive minded. He was so defensive minded. And I feel like once you have a decent defensive minded coach that know how to control the defense, now all you got to do is work with the offense, and the Dolphins offense was stepping up major. Did you guys watch the game last Sunday against the Patriots, right? The past Sunday, right?
Yeah,
I watched a little bit of it.
Tua was slicing us up. Like, I really wanted to turn the game off at halftime because I'm like, what is we doing? But it's Brian Flores. He's smart. He has a magical mind, and I don't think people sees it. They just look at the record and look at the team and see how they playing. But people have to recognize that he made a big impact on the season because they was close to making the playoffs. They was close to making the playoffs after starting from 1-7. So I feel like that firing of Brian Flores was not cause for. I feel bad for him, honestly.
Yeah,
I feel that. But when it comes down to it, every head coach in at least this section was fired because of quarterback play. When you think about it, Vic Fangio, the Broncos, I legitimately think they're a quarterback away from taking that. Even a old ass Peyton Manning could take this team to at least an AFC championship. I mean, they got one of the best defenses in the league, great receivers, great running game. They just don't have a quarterback. The Giants, well, that's another dumpster fire. I mean, they got so much wrong with them. They're not even close, with just a quarterback away. Look, Flores was fired because, he doesn't like Tua. He doesn't really agree. He wanted to draft Herbert over Tua. He wanted Deshaun Watson, and the owners just didn't agree with him. Zimmer, he had his chances, all right? He had good teams. He had good teams with the Vikings. They only got one playoff berth with Kirk Cousins. That's his own fault. Matt Nagy's just a terrible coach. You can't even blame the quarterback play for that one. He's just so god-awful. I'm so glad he's out of Chicago now. But now it's time for the Chaingang Players of the Week, where we give one player who we think crushed it, knocked it out of the park, really carried their team, or just did really well. And so, Parker, do you want to go first on this one?
I'm actually going to hand it off to Justin because I have a list, and I'm very curious as to what Justin's pick is.
Okay. Mine is going to be Deebo Samuels. He had an absolutely huge game. against the Rams, which I did not see them taking. I didn't see them winning the Rams game at all. So I was very impressed by the way they played. But Deebo Samuel's, first off, he had a passing touchdown, fucking insane from a running back / wide receiver. On top of that, he had 45 yards in the air and then 95 yards in the air off 4 receptions and then 8 rushes for 45 yards and touchdown. Just absolutely insane.
So it's a good pick. I just want to say here, I believe in the 49ers. I called this upset. I knew it was going to happen. Jimmy G came through. Deebo Samuel came through. And so Justin, good pick. I'll go next. Even though he lost, he balled out. And that man is Justin Herbert himself. Okay, he threw for almost 400 yards. He had 64 pass attempts. Okay, that's a lot. That's just a lot of pressure to put on a young quarterback like that to try to get into the playoffs. And honestly, he would have if his coach didn't screw him over. So, honestly, it wasn't his fault, and he just came in the clutch when the Chargers needed him, time and time again. They converted 6 fourth downs, which was, I believe, for the first time ever, or I think it was either that or for the first time in 30 years. But, Chris Collinsworth, it was amazing hearing him slowly get more excited about every conversion. And I swear I could close my eyes and wait until 4th down and see what happened. But Justin Herbert really balled out, even though they lost. His defense and his coach really let him down. But hey, individual performances is what this segment's about, and he really put up a good one. So
I think I would have to take Cedric Wilson. He stepped up for Michael Gallup. Like, he had 5 receptions, 119 yards, and 2 tutties. I feel like that's good for the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like the Gallup injury is good for the Cowboys because it's making them look at more options. It's making them lead to more momentum. So I'll take Cedric Wilson for my player of the week.
That's a good one. Very underrated receiver. I think he's done well in the time, that Michael Gallup's been out. So it's a good pick.
All right, boys. I'm giving the pick that'll help the Steelers get into the playoffs. I'm going with Mr. Trevor Lawrence with 71, almost 72% completion rate, 223 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I will gladly take him this week as my little underrated player of the week. Without his performance, there's no way Jacksonville beats Indianapolis, and he was a big part of that. So I think he deserves a little love down there for the last week, and I hope he comes back strong next season for Duval.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Trevor Lawrence, he's been struggling a lot this season, but hey, he finished it off in a big way. And you know what? I'll always appreciate Trevor Lawrence, for getting the Steelers into the playoffs. He was a key play in it for sure.
Yeah, and another big honorable mention is Dak Prescott and Ryan Tannehill. Dak Prescott was 21 for 27 with 295 passing yards and 5 touchdowns, and Ryan Tannehill as well was 23 of 32 for 287 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns. So both those also get credited as players of the week honorable mentions.
I think Ryan Tannehill have the player of the week too. The breakaway sack. That was the game right there.
Yeah, true. But Parker, I honestly thought with that Texan spirit in you that you would have given Davis Mills an honorable mention because
Mills
he came back.
He's pretty good,
dude. He's actually looking good. And to answer Ryan's question last week of Davis Mills or Tyler Huntley, I'm taking Davis Mills, and I didn't think I would say that because I love mobile quarterbacks.
I told you in the beginning of the season I was excited to watch Davis Mills play, and y'all made fun of me. Fuck you.
Hey, well, you also said that Anthony Miller would have a breakout season, and he got cut 2 weeks later. So,
man, look, not all my
where we
picks
at with
right,
that?
But,
where we at with that? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. The K Legendary Show kind of cut out. His phone died. So we kind of left in the middle of that question. Apologies. But yeah, it was great to have him on. We didn't get to send him off, but it was good to have him. We appreciated him, everything like that. And and Justin had to leave to go on a hot date. So thanks, buddy, for coming on for as long as you could. But for the rest of the episode, it's gonna be me and Parker shooting the shit, and it's gonna be fun. So let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of next thing, Parker, I want to look at is the rookies. There were a lot of surprising rookies this year, and I think there are two rookies that were undoubtedly the best, in the league. But what were kind of some of the ones that surprised you? Ones that really made an impact for their team this year.
Oh, Jamar Chase by far. Going into the season, I thought Jamar Chase was just kind of going to be an average receiver. I wasn't a fan of the pick at all, really, other than the chemistry between Burrow and him. But I just, I was kind of like, eh. And already at the beginning of the season, he was not doing well, but he turned out to get 13 touchdowns. He's fourth in the league for receiving yards and the second highest average yards per catch at 18 yards. And I think he was fantastic. So I give him as my kind of rookie sensation of the year that I was not expecting whatsoever.
Yeah, and honestly, I will admit it. I was totally a Penny Sewell guy, when it came to the Bengals picking between the two at the draft.
Yeah.
I thought that's what they needed. I mean, it looked like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd were solid options to have out there, but hey, I mean, they knew something that I didn't, and props to them. I mean, he's a perfect fit. It's completely changed their, offense, and I think, obviously, it's not the sole reason, but he's a big reason why, they're AFC North Division winners this year. But I think for me, the most surprising rookie, in my opinion, has been Nick Bolton, who was a second rounder. He was the leading tackler for the Chiefs this year. And, he's been a big part of why that Chiefs defense kind of turned it around and, why they're a complete team, honestly, at this point. He has great tackling ability. He's actually pretty solid in pass coverage. So, I mean, he wasn't as flashy as Micah Parsons or as good, obviously, but I think he definitely surprised me the most of any rookie. So, props to him there.
Yeah. I think another player too, as well, is Amon St. Brown for the Lions. Like, definitely, he picked it up towards the end of the season.
Oh yeah.
With his last 6 games, 51 catches, 560 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Like, those are some pretty nice stats. And I think if the Lions want to keep Jared Goff next year, which I think they are, keeping Jared Goff and they'll have Amon St. Brown next year. And I think if they keep this momentum that they had towards the end of the season, they're going to do fantastic. So as a guy who's kind of passively rooting for the Lions, I think, there's a lot to look forward to if you're a Detroit Lions fan.
Oh, dude, 100%. And honestly, I think he's become their, best passing option, and that's over TJ Hawkinson. I know he's been injured, but, he kind of came out of nowhere. Like, he was getting 2 catches a game, maybe, for the first, 10 games or so. And then, dude just exploded. They finally started targeting him and everything like that. And, dude was making plays, and, you got to give it to him. Finished off with a great season. And, you could argue if you played like this the entire season, he might have been closer to beating out Jamar Chase for, best receiver or rookie receiver. But, another guy for me, Parker, that I think, some people wouldn't agree with me on this in the podcast, but Zach Wilson has actually improved a lot throughout this season, and I give props to him because I thought he was going to be a total bust. I made the bet with the audience that if he didn't get 4 wins, that I would have to do a Zach Wilson jersey giveaway. But dude has great ability. His ability to get out of the pocket amazes me. I don't know how he can do it. Like, every time I watch him play, every time there's pressure, he's able to get out of the pocket and, extend the play. And I think that's an attribute that, people kind of underrate about him. And I think the Jets have finally actually found their quarterback, and I think this is a guy they can actually build around. He might not be a superstar like Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes, but I think he's a solid option, and I think with the bad luck they've had over the years, I think they got to take their chance with this guy, and he's a good guy to bet on, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think Zach Wilson's going to do pretty good in New York. Another couple rookie that I thought really surprised me was Jalen Waddle and Najee Harris from the Steelers. I think both those guys, I didn't really have high expectations for them coming into the season. I think Najee behind the Steelers offensive line, I was like, there's no way this guy's going to perform. And he absolutely just blew me out of the water. So I was more than happy watching that happen, even as a Steelers fan.
Wow, I was surprised you had low expectations for Najee, but I guess that offensive line. It's pretty. Any running back, it's hard to run behind. But yeah, man, Najee, he never gets tackled on the first try. It's like he's got butter on him, and every time someone touches him, it just people just keep slipping off. And his hands are insane. He's making these one-handed catches all the time, and I don't know how, because he's a running back. He's not supposed to do that. So.
Yeah, I think he's
by far the best running back in this class. I love watching him play. Thank God the Steelers picked him. I don't care, CBS Sports, that you gave us a C- or a C+ for picking a running back in the first round. We needed it. Okay, if you watch Benny Snell, I love Benny Snell, but when you watched him when Najee was out, okay, and our offense didn't do anything, and then when Najee came back, our offense did things. That's why we drafted Najee Harris. We needed a running back badly. And Parker, I'll agree with you with Jalen Waddle. I don't like Tua as a quarterback. I don't think he's really that great. And Jalen Waddle still performed. He, was one of the better PPR options, for fantasy owners. And he was great. He looks really great, after the catch, and, his route running ability is great. So I think he's got potential on this, Dolphins team. And I think it saved them from having to re-sign Will Fuller. And, him and Waddle and Devontae Parker can kind of be the options, for that team. But Parker, I want to, get into these season awards because, if our man T.J. Watt gets played again, I'm gonna throw a fit. With Roger Goodell or, whoever these voters are. But before we get into Defensive Player of the Year, I feel like we, of course, got to talk about MVP. So, Parker, who do you think, or who are you picking as your MVP of the season?
Oh, geez. This is you could even make a case for MVP for TJ Watt, but I don't think he's going to win it because it's always a quarterback or offensive player. You could make an argument for Cooper Kupp as well. However,
if this year, if any year a non-quarterback would win this award, I think it's this year, honestly.
Yeah,
seems like there's a decent amount of options for non-quarterbacks to win. I don't think it's going to happen, but if any year it were to happen, it'd be this year.
Yeah, I just I hate going with the safe option, but I'm going to the safe option and say Aaron Rodgers. His play has been phenomenal. He's been so good towards the end of the season, and I think the Packers are going to do phenomenal in the playoffs. I think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl as well. But I mean, it's the safe option, and I think he's got that pretty much locked up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Aaron Rodgers should be the MVP. I know Bruce Arians said that he would throw a hissy fit if Tom Brady didn't win it. But honestly, I mean, Tom Brady had most passing yards, sure. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has the best team, and he just – I don't know. In my opinion, I think he looked like the best quarterback. But, if I was a betting man, that's who I would pick. But if I were to truly go with the most valuable player, I mean – I think it would have to be Cooper Kupp. He's got the receiving triple crown, which has only been done a couple times in history. And the man just played out of his mind. and really transform this Rams offense. Another reason, why they are where they are. I know he's not going to win, but if I were to pick one, I honestly think I would go with Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, that's a fair guess.
Yeah.
Defensive player of the year. What do you think?
It's got to be TJ Watt. I don't even know what I will be dumbfounded if he doesn't get this award. I don't understand why he didn't get it last year, and I will throw a hissy fit if he doesn't get it this year.
Yeah, there will be riots in Pittsburgh if he does not win this. If Myles Garrett does, then it's absurd.
Honestly,
Myles Garrett shouldn't win it. Micah Parsons shouldn't win it. Aaron Donald shouldn't win it. It should be TJ Watt.
If Micah Parsons wins this award over TJ Watt, I don't even know.
Repulsive.
That I probably will throw up. I honestly might throw out of pure disgust. Like this TJ Watt arguably should have the sack record. I know we didn't mention this in our game recap, but in the other episode, but like that first like sack or tackle or whatever, the strip fumble he had on Tyler Huntley, they're reviewing that. If that's, considered a sack, which I think it should, I think that should be a sack, then he has the sack record. But even if he doesn't play all 17 games and he only plays 16, I think if he plays one more game, he has the sack record. Oh, 100%. I think he played 14 or 15 games. So
I think it was 15. Yeah.
Yeah. So
but
I think if he plays one more game, he gets it. But as of now, he tied the sack record. And, like you said, Parker, I think you could argue him for MVP because without him, our defense is lost. I think we were 0-5 without him. And, like I said, our defense is lost without him. He had the most tackles for loss. It seems like he gets a forced fumble, at least maybe one or two every game. I don't see how anybody else even compares to him. And you know what, Parker? One guy that we haven't mentioned that I will blow my brains out if he does get Defensive Player of the Year over TJ Watt is Trayvon Diggs. I can't trust the NFL at that point if Trayvon Diggs gets it.
I don't like Trayvon Diggs.
I don't like him. Look, he's an aggressive
he's very overrated.
He's an aggressive corner, and that's why he has all of those picks. That's also why he's given up the most yards. And I'm pretty sure he's given up a decent amount of touchdowns too. So
he's like owning a Bugatti. Like the performance is fantastic, but you have to buy 4 like super $20,000 tires like every time you hit 200 miles an hour. So it's not even worth it. Like
exactly.
He's great to look at and he's good in certain situations, but if you're giving up so many yards and so many large touchdowns, then what's the point? You're actually not good. In my
100%,
opinion, at least.
100%.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. But flipping the ball to the other side of the field, offensive player of the year. I mean, I feel like it's between, I was going to say, if anything, it's between Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor. And I think Cooper Kupp takes it with the receiving Triple Crown. That's all he needs.
If
Jonathan Taylor fell off
made the playoffs,
season,
Jonathan Taylor would win it.
Jonathan Taylor fell off at the end of the season, and I think it's because teams realized that all the Colts do is hand the ball off to him, and, they just have to blitz.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's good, don't get me wrong, but he did fall off at the end of the year. Still had an amazing season, but I don't think he, should get it. But Rookie of the Year, we kind of talked about, what rookies made us stand out. But Parker and me, I think Micah Parsons is my guy here. I think he got 13 sacks. He was second in the NFL in tackles for loss. And he made such a big impact on that Cowboys defense because last year it was like you were playing, on Madden in rookie mode. Honestly, they were giving up 30 points a game. And this year is 21. I mean, obviously, there's other adjustments to that, but he made such a big difference to that defensive line and that defense in general. Had an amazing year. I got to give it to Micah Parsons with strong honorable mentions towards Jamar Chase. I don't think a quarterback should win this award. I think it's Micah Parsons or Jamar Chase.
I think you could make an argument for Mac Jones. You could make an argument for Najee Harris. You can make an argument. I think offensive rookie of the year, Jamar Chase. Defensive rookie of the year, Patrick Surtain. I think Patrick Surtain played a lot more
over
of a
Micah
complete
Parsons?
game over Micah Parsons.
Okay, I can respect that just in the fact that Patrick Surtain also had an amazing rookie year and it's been a great pick for the Broncos. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Micah Parsons has the stats to back him up.
Yeah. It's very much like that
It's
gut
gonna be
feeling
tough.
of like, yeah, he's good. And the reason he's not talked about as much is because he's so good.
Right.
Cornerbacks in the NFL, if you're a good cornerback in the NFL, I should not know you should exist because the ball should not be coming your way. And that's how Patrick Surtain plays. Anytime I've seen him play, the quarterback looks and he's like, oh, he's covered. I can't throw it his way. And anytime it is thrown his way, he usually defends it. Patrick Surtain is the cornerback that I would want to. If I were to start a defense and I had to start with cornerbacks, I'd start with Patrick Surtain. I think he's that good.
100%. I agree. I watched that game. They played against the Chargers. He had Keenan Allen locked up. Every play was contested, and I loved it. He's a great player. I think he's just short, though, of Rookie of the Year, but we'll see. We got two more. First, we will go over Comeback Player of the Year, which has a lot of candidates, and you could make an argument for a lot of guys here. Obviously, there's Cowboys fans with Dak. Probably most of the NFL fans are thinking Joe Burrow. But, Parker, I'm not like most NFL fans. I think differently, and that's why I'm going with Nick Bosa. He's, people kind of forget about him. He's under the radar. But he had 15.5 sacks. He had a great year. One of the reasons why the 49ers are a top-ranked defense. I love this guy, and I'm glad he could come back from injury, and he proved himself.
Okay. I can get on that train.
Yeah.
However,
did Dak play too well? Or
no,
is it?
It's not Dak Prescott.
Both
Dak Prescott sucks.
Both Dak and Joe Burrow brought losing teams to division champions. Both of them.
And I think the quarterback who did it better was Joe Burrow, and I think Joe Burrow is going to do it. I think Joe Burrow is my comeback player of the year. He single-handedly, with Jamar Chase, led that team back. And everybody thought they were going to be like 7-10, maybe 6-11, and they ended up winning the division. And I watching Jamar Chase and watching Joe Burrow play together, especially Joe Burrow in general, hitting Joe Mixon and all his other targets, I think he wins it as comeback player of the year in my book.
Hey, I respect that. I think if Nick Bosa is not going to win, it's got to be Joe Burrow. If it's Dak, I might cry. Not that Dak doesn't deserve it. I think, it was a tough injury to come back from, but I think I agree with you there. I think Joe Burrow gets it for me. But the last award we got is Coach of the Year. And this one's also, kind of controversial. But for me, I think without a doubt, it's Mike Vrabel. He led the Titans to the number 1 seed without their best player. Nothing else I have to say there.
Yeah.
You could have argued Bill Belichick if the Patriots would have finished better, but with them at the 6th seed, I don't see how you can, put him at Coach of the Year because of that. Like, it's impressive, don't get me wrong, getting a rookie quarterback to the playoffs, but I think what Mike Vrabel has done is more impressive, and that's why I think he gets it.
Yeah, another coach that had a big turnaround this year was Nick Sirianni of the Eagles. I think he could win it as well. Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, you could make an argument. I think Zach Taylor of the Bengals as well. Nobody was expecting them to do this well again, and I think a lot of that also has to do with Zach Taylor. So, Zach Taylor. You know what? You win in my book. I give you Zach Taylor.
Wow, definitely a underrated option. So those are all of our awards. We'll see, how these guys do.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is the conclusion of episode 17 of the Chaingang podcast. We're going to try to split them up so that they're not as long as this week. So go check out Legendary Show. Thanks again for joining us. And, of course, subscribe, like, comment to the Chaingang channel, and make sure to follow our Instagram and TikTok also at the Chaingang podcast. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you next week.